Yeah, we just found out, but based on his call logs, he spoke to someone for 40 minutes. After his passing, we called him and found out he was doing this. And it was next day after his last day at work.
Who did he speak to?
I'll get back to you on that.
But he spoke to a reporter.
Canadian news media that sued OpenAI.
News media. Oh.
Canadian news media that sued OpenAI.
Interesting.
On October 23rd, his interview was published in New York Times, where he makes a very, very open statement, and he calls OpenAI violates copyright data.
On October 23rd, he was quoted in the New York Times saying that OpenAI violates copyright law.
Yes.
Is stealing other people's material.
Yeah.
Okay. And what day did he die?
I'm sorry?
And what day did he die?
22nd November, but we found the body on 26th November.
So he was quoted saying that OpenAI was committing crimes, and a month later he was dead.
That's not just it. On November 18th, New York Times named my son as custodian witness. Custodian witness is very, very important. He had the documents against OpenAI. That was on 18th. 22nd, he just came back from vacation from LA and Catalina Island the same night. They have attacked him and killed him.
Tell us about what the New York Times wrote on November 18th. He had these documents. What were the documents?
We need to get the documents from New York Times. It's a sealed document and it's not open for public. But we need to become like the estate administrator. My husband will be the estate administrator end of this month. Then we will go and acquire that data, what documents they were. At the moment, we don't have information.
But you know, because you read it in the New York Times, that your son had given journalists papers that he says implicated OpenAI in crime.
Yes. And also, on December 2nd, Sachir had an interview planned with Associated Press, Matt O'Brien. On December 2nd, Sachir did not attend. 3rd, they called on his phone. By then, we had his phone. My husband took a phone call. And he found out that Sachir wanted to take legal action against OpenAI. He wanted to give the witness. By then, this news was not out yet that Sachir was a custodian witness, but we got it. Then all we did was hurrying up the second autopsy, private autopsy moment. We heard that this was his initiative and he didn't make it to do that.
So to bottom line it, it sounds like your son, who's your only child, by the way, and I'm really sorry about that. Your son was in a position to really threaten OpenAI.
Well, it's not, his intent was not to threaten. He just cared about people. He cared about humanity. He writes in his article in New York Times as well as a publication. He believes the way the AI is currently without any regulation is a harm to humanity. He stood up for a cause and he lost his life for a cause. He's a martyr. Obviously, he's a martyr. And then he never hesitated. He put his life at risk.
So the official cause of death is suicide. You're his mother. Clearly, you spoke to him a lot. Did you get any indication that he was depressed?
No, he just came back from vacation. He had a very active lifestyle. When we had his memorial service, many of his friends came and they gave the details of when they met him and how many times they met him after he left. He was visiting family. We were going out for dinner, lunch. He was fine. And more than anything else, he had concrete career plans.
Yes. And interviews scheduled, and he had things on his to-do list. Did he ever say to you that he felt his life was threatened? Was he worried?
He had concrete plans. He wanted to do some work for humanity. That's the last day when we spoke. Last conversation with Sachir in person was that. He had a non-profit in mind. And he didn't want to take the salary for his work. He said, Mom, I have enough resources. I don't even need to get paid. I want to serve humanity. And he wanted to work in neuroscience and machine learning combination. Using that, I think I've seen on his desktop one of the project for future of doctor visit. Since we haven't unlocked his email and laptop yet, we have to discover that. But we know, he discussed with me, it's a 1-year plan. He said, give me a 1-year time, you'll know everything. Because
Did he ever talk to you about Sam Altman?
did
you ever talk to your son about Sam Altman?
No, we refused to.
You refused to?
We refused to talk to Sam Altman.
But did your son ever talk to you about Sam Altman? Did he ever say anything about Sam Altman?
Not to me, but to his friends a lot. When he was in Catalina Islands, he spoke a lot against him. He literally didn't like him. In fact, I've seen his chat log saying that he wanted to work with Annie Altman in her non-profit work.
And that would be Sam's sister who was accused him of sexual abuse.
Yes.
Really? He wrote that down?
Yes. So he knew what personality Sam Altman had. And his main concerns were the lies.
The lies?
Lies that Sam Altman used.
The lies.
Yeah. He was lying a lot. And my son is very ethical and he couldn't stand it.
So if we could go to the timeline around your son's death. So he goes to Catalina Island with friends.
Yes.
To backpack? To camp? What was he doing?
Backpacking, yes. November 16 to November 22nd. There were 5 guys who went and my son was one of them. All these are his middle school and high school classmates. Some of them are his best buddies. We spoke to every one of them when they came back and everyone gave an image like he is upbeat. He was very happy. He celebrated his 26th birthday on 21st November, the day before he died. What more do we need to give an account of his happy mood?
Well, exactly. And if you at a certain age, you know people who've killed themselves. And typically, the suicide follows a morose period of isolation. The person's sitting alone in his apartment drinking. He died the night he came back from a camping trip with his high school and college friends.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Our attorney, he came to his apartment with us, and moment he inspected his apartment, he said he had fresh supplies ordered. He has so many packets unopened. This doesn't look suicidal at all.
So, and the photographs that you took, which we'll get to in a minute, I just want to say this is not the first time I've been contacted by a family saying, our child is ruled a suicide, but we think it was a murder. I mean, many people have claimed that. I've never seen anything like this before. This is, I think, again, to any fair person, suggests that he was murdered. But let's get to that. So what do you know? He came back from Catalina, and if you don't mind telling us what you know about what happened then. He comes back that evening to San Francisco?
He came around like 11 o'clock. He texted me his flight is taking off. That was on 22nd. And then 4:54 he texted saying that it's pouring in San Francisco. And when he got off Uber, leasing office manager, he has apparently seen Sachir coming off with big suitcase and other things. And then Sachir said, yes, I'm coming back from LA. That's somewhere between 1 to 2 p.m. that day. And then he spoke to dad at 7:15 p.m. He was very happy. And Balaji said, shall we go to CES in Las Vegas in January? Because it was raining here, dad brought up the concept that, weather will be great in January. And Sachir said yes. And dad gave him a birthday gift.
Gave him a birthday gift?
Birthday gift, because 21st was his birthday. He said he'll send him cash, just a token of love. And Sachir accepted it.
And that's the night he died?
The day he died.
So his last conversation with his father was what time, roughly?
That's the last conversation.
That was the last conversation.
I called the next day, 12:15 p.m. Phone rang once and it went to voicemail.
When did you learn that your son was dead?
That was on 26th. 25th, I went to his apartment, knocked on the door, no one opened. I called the dispatch. Unfortunately, it took a day of effort for us to get his apartment open. 25th, they went and they didn't even call me back. What happened? Apparently, they have gone and knocked on the door. They didn't bother to open the door. They just said, okay, nobody's opening the door, and they went back. Security guard from the apartment complex says he saw the fire truck and the ambulance and the police. And they went back. 5:30, I waited and 5:30 p.m. when I called on Monday 25th, they said, ma'am, unless you are here, we cannot open the door. Next morning, I went to Union City Police Station, that's where we live, and filed a missing person complaint. I waited for 1.5 hours, but both the parents, me and my husband, we started calling all the hospitals in San Francisco area to see if he may have had an accident, why he's not responding to us, what happened to him. Moment we found that he was not in any of the hospitals, we took a deep breath, okay, he's safe. But when we went to his apartment, 1 o'clock I went to San Francisco and the dispatch came at 1:09. Until 4 o'clock, we were not told anything.
And then you got a call from the city?
No, that was not how it went. 1:09, two officers came and they went with the leasing manager, and I'm waiting outside. They didn't allow me inside the premises. I'm waiting outside the complex. Then 113 they have seen, apparently. That's what the report says. They've seen the body. Within 5-10 minutes they came out and they told me, no, we didn't enter. We're waiting for 2 more officers. We have a security protocol, we cannot go inside. Around 2 o'clock, 2 more officers came.
But they knew your son was dead and they lied to you?
They didn't tell at that moment. 2 o'clock, they have a protocol. I don't blame them. 2 o'clock, 2 officers came. They went inside. 20 minutes they came back and said, we're waiting for 2 more officers. We have security protocol. We can't go inside. And they said at 2 o'clock, they said, ma'am, you can go back home. We'll inform you in 5 to 6 hours. I said, I'm not going anywhere. They told me it's going to take some time for the next 2 officers to come. I said, let it be. Please give me the phone number. I'll contact them and find out if there's any way we can expedite it. My son's safety is in question. I cannot wait any longer. And then at 3:20, I saw a big white van coming and my heart sank seriously.
So they knew as they were speaking to you that your son was dead but didn't tell you?
They didn't tell.
That's disgusting. That's inhuman. Sorry.
It is. And you know what? They're asking me to go home. And how I knew my son was dead is looking at the white van. At that moment, I knew ambulance didn't come. And instead of, even then I was optimistic, okay, maybe ambulance wasn't available, they sent another van. And when I just saw a stretcher that came out, I went and spoke to the officers who are the medical examiners. They said, we have a dead person in the apartment. That's how I came to know.
When we first did a deal with Black Rifle Coffee, Evan, the CEO, sent us like a case of coffee beans. And honestly, I have not had any coffee